Okay, we're good.
And a very good evening. About a minute after 7, and I'd like to welcome you all to the regular meeting of our Bedminster Township Committee for August 20th, 2018. Our entire committee is with us, so I'd like to call the meeting to order. Can I get the Open Public Meetings Act statement, Ms. Sullivan?
Yes, sir. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was sent to the Courier News in Somerville and to the Burnsville News in Whippany, to all subscribers, and also posted here at the Municipal Building as of January 8th, 2018.
I'll ask you all to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, it's good to be back. I've been out of the town for a couple weeks on vacation. We do have 2 sets of meetings to review and approve. Any comments or questions about the minutes for August 6th, the regular agenda meeting and the exec session?
Just one correction there, Judy, on the point about the Lamington River project, you mentioned NJCF, New Jersey Conservation Foundation.
Yes.
That's NRCS.
And RCS.
Yes, ma'am.
That was...
We had so many parties involved, but I don't believe NJCF actually looked at it.
I'm looking. NRCS.
Correct.
Okay. Got it.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Can I get a motion? We've got a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I will be abstaining since I was not here. Mr. Jacobs was in charge.
Thank you.
Permits and raffles. Social fair permit for the Center of Contemporary Arts held on which will be held on October the 12th, 2018, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Social affair permit for the Lamington Presbyterian Church. That event will be on September 15th, 2018, 5:30 p.m. to 11 p.m. And a raffle application for Hugs for Brady Foundation. This is an off-premise 50-50 at Fiddler's Elbow Country Club, October the 2nd, 2018, 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. Any comments or questions on any of those? If not, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
At this time, as we do twice every meeting, we open up that microphone at that podium over there to any member of the public that wishes to make a comment. We do this at the beginning of the meeting, at the end of the meeting. We are on videotape. You at the podium will not, but you will be on the audio tape. So if you come up, please state your name and your address for the audio record.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Can you hear me? Hi, my name is Stacia McDonough. I reside at 35 Bedminster Terrace. I've been a resident here for about 15 years, and I am proposing for next Memorial Day to honor our local hometown heroes. In addition to doing the parade that runs down Main Street and Peapack Road, if we could do these flags for our hometown heroes. I guess they could do a nomination type system for locals that have served in the military, deceased or living. They do a beautiful job in Summit, and they run them from the beginning of the month of May throughout, a little bit past Memorial Day. I did call JCP&L and they had no problem with it. They said as long as it's not on any Verizon poles or poles that have transformers, to check the numbers on the poles, as long as they don't begin with an NJ or a JCBD, it's fine. I also called this Carrot Top Inc. company that specializes in these flags. They gave me a price for $138.50 each, plus $55 for the hardware. If you purchase 6 or more, there would be a discount, and the banners are 30 inches by 60 inches and would be adhered to an 18-foot pole, and then we would just have to cover the shipping and handling. And I've been volunteering with the local homeless veterans for the past 13 years. And I'm on the leadership committee for the Hope for Veterans in Parsippany, New Jersey.
So you talked about hardware and flag. What would be the total cost for like each unit if you added it all up?
Okay, if it's 6 or less, it would be $138.50 for the flag, plus $55, plus shipping and handling. If there's more than, we order more than 6 flags, they said there would be a discount, and it's in 4 color. Some here, they only had really 2 color. This is a full 4 color, and it would have the photograph of the veteran and which war he served in, the years, and whatever else, and the branch of service.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now I suppose if we did something like that, if we did something like that, I would assume we'd probably run it similar to the benches, because we have a bench program, and that's another option. And the bench, the idea is if you want to buy a bench on our hike and bike path and dedicate it to somebody, you make a donation.
I did already.
Okay.
It was just ordered, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, but I'm saying if we ran something like that, it could perhaps be run in a similar manner where you make a donation and it covers the cost of the flag, and it goes through the, a little approval process to make sure it's what we'd be looking for.
Like a sponsorship opportunity.
Sponsorship opportunity. So
is this similar to the Field of Honor? Where you, I mean, because it stops here from what you're saying. It sounds as if the individual who sponsors each flag, would they own that flag? Would after the event?
I suppose you could do it that way, or you could do it in conjunction. I know the fire department runs the parade. If you wanted to do it in conjunction with them. I know Summit, the particular person doesn't own their flag. They're nominated, and then the town pays for it. And I don't know if they put it up in the town hall afterwards and keep them on display, or what they do with them, but I know they do not return them to the veteran whose photograph was chosen for the flag.
how long do they keep them up in the other towns? Are they up for a season, a couple weeks? Are they up all year round?
Approximately 6 weeks.
6 weeks? Okay.
I would imagine before,
Because otherwise they can get a little weather beaten.
right.
And you don't want that.
I would imagine like towards the end of April through Memorial Day,
Okay.
and then take them down. This particular company I spoke with, this Carrot Top, they actually made your flags for the farmer's market,
Mm-hmm.
and they said that they would need all of the information in by no later than March 1st, like the photographs and
Mhm.
all of the information. I'm guessing a deposit or payment in full.
Well, I think this is an interesting idea. It may be something that probably warrants maybe further discussion or a subcommittee. I mean, I suspect we can find one honoree on there from Bedminster, but it'd be interesting to see if we had a proposal that could come up with 4 or 6 or whatever, and set some rules and just in other words, come up with a full plan that we can say, well, eligibility, like if it's Memorial Day, I mean, I would assume that you'd probably be looking for veterans who have passed. I know you don't have to, but
Yes,
Veterans Day is in November, and
Right.
every year I always remind people that Memorial Day is really for those that have passed, and I think that's most appropriate. But we should figure out if we have enough candidates to warrant it, and whether we want to do it as a like the bench program or something like that, or come up with a full plan.
It has a timing element to it.
Yeah, and figure out the timing. In other words, really, certainly something where you're honoring veterans like this sounds great, but I think it would be nice for us to decide on something that's a complete plan, and we should help you with that. Meaning, perhaps set up a subcommittee that'll sit down and kind of say, well, you know, when Mr. Stevenson, when we had some folks approach us about the dog park, which Doug did a great job, and we've came up with a good plan on the dog park. We had some people come up like you and said, boy, it'd be nice if the dog park was better. Okay, everybody said, well, that's pretty good, but what are we proposing? And I know you've come up with some good legwork now, but maybe if we could come up with something that was fully formed, that we could all sit and kind of kick around. I'm not talking about a lot of work, but...
Yeah, one of my suggestions would be to stop in and talk to Robin Ray, who is associated with the JDH house, and she would be able to give you some leads on Field of Honor and some of the flags that are purchased for folks, and to try to get an idea.
That might also give some good ideas.
I spoke with Robin.
Okay.
Okay. Might give you some leads as to who might fit that category of veteran that we're looking to memorialize the honor.
And then we can also figure out if we have a lot of candidates or just a few candidates. Maybe you want to start out with 4 or 5 from every, one from each service, to include Coast Guard or something. Or maybe you want to start out with something that represents different eras. In other words, have a couple revolutionary. We've certainly got notable revolutionary heroes, from Bedminster, and maybe somebody Civil War. Maybe, in other words, but figure out what maybe constitutes a full proposal. Not saying that what you're giving us isn't a good proposal, but just kick it around and.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful idea, actually, to do one from each ward.
Right, I know that the Chicago's Vanderbilt House would be interested in something like that because they're trying to get out there to be more than just a museum. They want to do community events as part of the charter. So, you've got a ton of Revolutionary War history there and some help, and you've got folks that are passionate about this very topic. Let's connect after the meeting. I can give you the information, and then I can tell you when our next meeting is, and put you in contact with some folks. I think it'd be a very good lead.
I'm friends with Antonella Celli, who's also on the board for the Vanderveer House. She does a lot of...
Oh, she's great. She does a good job.
So I know her very, very well. And she helps me every year with the collection that I do of the new clothing for the homeless veterans. Her bank, at Investors, she opens it up every year for us, and she's been unbelievably kind and helpful and backs anything to help the veterans. So I think it's just, the spark of the idea. That's why I came here.
Oh, yeah.
So it would be early enough so we would have plenty of time if, for you all to decide what you wanted to do. I'm sure there's 50 adjustments to do to it, but I just wanted to give you plenty of time to figure out.
Doug, would you like to work with her as a point of contact on this, and we can see how it can evolve.
Okay.
And Stassi, would this be affiliated with Hope for Veterans?
No.
As well? So you're just thinking of this,
This is
not as a
Bedminster
fundraiser, just doing this just for awareness of veterans?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for Bedminster Township, I
Great.
think. Especially having the president down the street, I think it would be nice
Oh, yeah.
to spruce up.
Well, I was at a Somerset Patriots game last night, and they did a big veterans event, and they probably had about 200 or 300 veterans.
Nice.
It was really well done.
Yeah.
It's
nice.
yeah.
Personally, I think we should do a lot more for them, but, just trying to do the best I can.
Well, Doug, I know she may be heading out. We can take a few minutes and you can talk to her.
Sure.
Right after the public comment, we'll take a quick adjournment and let you talk.
Okay.
All right, well, Stasia, thank you so much.
Thank you
And
for your
I
time
think
and consideration.
how long ago was this? I remember reading this.
I run it every year.
Okay.
That was last year's paper, I believe.
Okay, I can remember seeing
Yeah, I
that.
do it every year. We're already starting. This year, my house looks like a warehouse. It's for
Okay.
a good cause.
Well, thank you. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you very much.
Any other public comment in the first session of public comment? Please.
Evening, everyone. Doug Bruno, 1851 Black River Road. Just back here to follow up on the meeting, I think, 2 sessions ago regarding the speeding problem on Black River. And I know that PD had hung the speed sensors out, both northbound, southbound, for a few days. And just wanted to get some follow-up on that.
Well, first, let me ask you for some follow-up, because you live there every day. What have you or have you not noticed?
Actually, the days, I can't remember how long the sensors were up. It actually had more of an effect this time on just, again, just observation, making people slow down than the first one did, which was just northbound. But as soon as it was gone, and personally I saw, the highest one that I saw was 48 miles an hour. Another one that stuck in my mind was 3 cars just tailgating each other, doing just under 40, right in the bend. And can't watch them all. I look like a grumpy old man. No, it seemed to make them slow down while the sensors were up. But as soon as the sensors are gone, it's right back.
And the sensors is the actual sign that tells you?
It's right,
Okay.
the sign that's hung on the 25 mile an hour speed limit sign
Okay.
that registers and records
Got it.
the actual speed.
Chief?
Chief?
Hello, Mr. Brown.
Thank you.
Here's what happened. After we were at the last meeting, I personally went out through the area and checked out the speed limit sign. Okay, I noticed that it's deficit northbound when you're in the 35 section on Black River approaching the village. There was a post there about 1680, there was no sign on it. So if you notice now, there's a reduced speed ahead sign. So that's a calming measure that was not in place at the
Okay.
time. As you get up a little bit further, there was a tree branch blocking the first road that says reduce speed ahead 25. And that, the DPW went up and trimmed the tree branch back, okay? The issue going northbound to me is, you're coming out of the 35, you hit the reduced speed, you hit the reduced speed 25, you're already over the bridge. So those speeds should vary, and everybody's not going to be coming into the village, in my opinion, doing 25. So there's 2 sets. The sign was posted, and the other one was, the visual picture was, you could see it better when that work was done. We did deploy the speed signs both north and southbound. We conducted 11 radar posts, and it was about 4.5 hours of radar enforcement, and that's during the signs were up and after the signs were up. 2 summonses were issued. One was 40, one was 25, and the other was 36 and 25, one morning. Speed signs, unfortunately, the batteries kind of diminished, but the southbound sign was posted there from July 4th until July 8th. That sign is showing the average speed coming southbound is 22 miles an hour. Like you stated, I don't know where you saw your high speed. This high speed is 45 coming southbound.
Southbound?
Yes.
Yeah, it was northbound. It was the one right from
We're
the
looking at
house.
224 cars a day for a total of the 4 days that that sign was up there, 1,871 cars passing southbound. And the northbound side, average speed is showing 30, high speed was 49. There's 392 cars going northbound, and for a total of 3135. The northbound side was actually up and running from July 4th until July 10th. And you should have noticed my people up in your driveway. I didn't run the numbers before this meeting. Maybe that on me, but the message went out, and you should have seen and enhanced more activity up there. But we'll do our best. I don't know, but I'm not a traffic expert. I'm not an engineer. But 4.5 hours for 2 stops. I mean, at least we're doing something.
Yeah.
But the amount of speeding up there when my officer's there, unless somebody's going northbound, flashing their lights, I can't explain it. That's where I'm at.
So, Chief, is your conclusion that the speeding problem is not as
It's hard to say.
It's not as bad as, or is this consistent with what you would see in other transitions from 35 to 25?
I think the northbound 35 to 25 is an obvious issue because if you're doing 35, you're probably doing 40. And then by the time you're slowing down and if you're not braking, you're just kind of coasting into the 25, obviously you're going to be going over 25 miles an hour. As Mr. Brown stated, it's probably a natural calming measure to see a sign blink at you when they're exceeding the speed limit. Even though southbound, there's 4 speed limit signs in that, I don't know how long that road is. Quarter mile. There's 425 speed limit signs from the church all the way down prior to your house. So it's not a matter of, it's a posting problem. It's a matter of do people tend to not pay attention.
And when did those additional signs or the clearance of the obstruction from the one sign, when did that all happen?
Relatively, I think the signs went up first, because they went up on July 4th. I think the meeting was July 3rd, and then I believe I was up there on July 5th and identified the missing sign in that site picture on the one northbound side. But I do recall that you had a bigger issue with the southbound cars compared to the northbound.
Right, because that's coming around the bend, it's a blind curve. And
So,
is there a way to look at the data, that it's a 22 average, but that takes into account?
like I said, I'm not engineering. The 85th speed percentile on the southbound side was 26 miles an hour. So doing a little research online, I find the definition of the 85th speed as the speed at or below which 85% of the vehicle is traveling. And then on the northbound side, it was the 85th speed was 34 miles an hour.
And Brown, is your concern about those higher, the 48 and the 49s, or is it about the constant traffic at excessive speed?
It's the highway speed. It's the motorcycles that rip through, doing their lanes, and it's the left-seated. It's a little British car. They live over in Smithfield. It's a left-seated English car. That guy comes through ripping. So it's the high rate versus someone's coming through at 30. That's fine. And I got a pretty good, I'm an engineer, so kind of got a pretty good judge of speed and distance, and it's obvious who's paying attention and trying to keep it down versus who's just, I'm late, I'm through here. And it's those that are the ones. But I did talk to Sergeant Nancy. She when I was out walking dog, she pulled over. She's like, noticing anything? I'm like, well, I've seen you guys, appreciate it. So I know that they're out there. It's just, and I know you can't be out there all the time. And it just seems like they know when you're there, and they know the signs are up, and they know when they're not there.
So, I mean, just to bring it back, so it's largely, it's not the constant speed, it's, it's the motorcycles that are just like, hey, we got this great country road, man, where you're going to tear it up going down there.
Yeah.
And then the few vehicles that you identify and and they're just ripping through there as well. Does that change any approach, Chief, as how you might try to, I mean, this sounds more like a targeted enforcement rather than a general issue. Would that change an approach?
Targeting is, give me a specific time when everybody's doing 45 and not that. But, if people are running late, we're up there, we try to get there around the morning rush hour. And then a lot of times we have great intentions, and then we get a crash down here that everybody that's up there needs to come down. So, it's really hard to figure out the time. You would think that the rush hours, it's probably heavier coming southbound in the morning, and it's heavier going northbound in the evening. So we're just trying to avoid 206. It's just like fishing. Sometimes you get them, and sometimes you don't.
With all that being said and data in hand, is it worth the consideration of a speed limit?
On that area, not with the curve.
I think that last time with that speed bump was out because of the sight lines. and the curve.
Sight lines and a curve, I don't think it's gonna be a safety issue. And any traffic engineer may tell you that. I can't confirm it, but they may tell you that.
How much line of sight do you need?
It's not even a line of sight, it's probably the curve that's gonna be the issue.
Well, okay, so the distance from curve to.
But where would you put that they're gonna slow down and then right after that speed up? It's gonna be, the speed bump would have to be near Southfield Drive on the southbound lanes, if that's the case. And then as soon as they cross over that, they're gonna jump on it again and get around the curve. It's
Unless it's put literally right in front of my house.
which is right on, that's in the curve area.
Well, no, there's the S curve. The road straightens out from between my apartment house and my barn. And really kind of the bridge and curves out the road.
But it starts to curve right there, so
Well,
it's,
then, yeah, if you put it right in the middle, then everybody that's coming in from 35, they know it's there, they slow down. And once they slow down, they're thinking, okay, 25. And if you're coming out of the village and you have to get around a couple of times, you know it's there, so you're prepared for it. You go over it, you go over the brook, and then you're up to the 35.
I'm not a traffic engineer, gentlemen and ladies, but, I mean, you may want to reach out to Paul Ferraro and see, but I think his opinion may be the same, so.
What about a more permanent flashing sign to let people know what they're doing? Right, we have a temporary one out there. You buy one that's solar powered that can be permanent, give people a flash, let them know what speed they're going.
They do manufacture something like that, that is solar powered.
We have one Hills Drive.
Anybody have an idea what that costs?
They don't.
We'll look into it and see if maybe that's a potential option. Constant reminder, seeing, works for me, I don't know.
Yeah.
We can see it and check my speed.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Just. Yeah, because it's got the two, yeah, it's moves all place, and then got the creek right there. Yeah, it's very difficult, as the chief said, to, get 100% of them. I think probably as a temporary measure, if the chief every couple months could get that sign up for, a week or so, cycle it around, because there's certainly other folks in town that are looking for similar signage, and maybe if it comes and goes, and again, a little more random enforcement, not just do it for a couple days and then forget about it for the rest of the year, but something that's a little more random, I think may do a better job. Numbers are interesting. I can remember several years ago having a discussion on Hills Drive, and Hills Drive was always a discussion over, they had speed bumps, people will go around the speed bumps, people speed on Hills Drive. I remember Chief Ussery did something similar to what Chief Rock did, and lo and behold, the numbers didn't turn out to be as jarring as what we thought. That doesn't mean that there wasn't a problem there. It just wasn't the numbers weren't as high as I think people expected.
Well, people do adapt.
Yep.
To temporary measures.
Yeah. But I think if it's, like I said, I think if it came and went and it was a little more random, people have a little tougher time preparing for that. If you don't know if there's going to be somebody around that corner, you may think twice rather than if you always know something's there, or if you know it's only going to be there for a while or whatever. That's
just a suggestion. Don't know if it's done in the town, but where you have instead of just cruiser, single cruiser, pick a Saturday and just have a stationary gun right around the curve, nail them, have them park up in front of the ball courts, come on over. that it's not just the cruiser, you come around the road and you see the cruiser and you're gonna slow down. But, you know, it's a little.
Well, there's the other side of that. There's towns that have put up a cruiser with a mannequin in it. And the sight of the cruiser slows people down.
Yeah.
And they don't know if it's a live cruiser or not a live cruiser. But anyway, I understand your point, and I think we need to keep working with the chief and trying to make sure that, you know, that it's not forgotten and that it's, you know, kept on the radar screen literally. But I don't, you know, I don't think we're going to have anybody there permanently, but I think we need to be looking to do a little more randomly and regularly, perhaps. Maybe get that sign back up there for a little while and deploy it other places where we need to. I know I drive down to Somerville, I'll go down Bridge Street, and they've got them down Bridge Street, and I see that sign, and my eyes light up, and if the number lights up that I shouldn't be, I will slow down. I think that's human nature. So, and maybe we should look into, if there are some solar options, figure out how much they cost, and maybe there's a couple places that are worth putting them up.
Mayor, a quick Google search, that's
Yeah.
$2,500, anywhere from $2,500 up in price.
All right. Well, there's always grants out there.
Well, you know, maybe this merits further discussion directly with the town engineer, see what other options are out there for traffic calming and speed calming. And, you know, let's not end this discussion. But let's talk to Paul. Maybe, you know, with John, you could reach out to Paul and maybe with the chief discuss what options are out there. And also put it back into the perspective of whether or not those observations, those recordings, I guess it's hard to say, how are they reflective of actual conditions without having the monitor there? Because the monitor itself is a traffic calming device.
It's hard to take the data if you don't have the thing to take the data with, so. Anyway, all right.
Okay, well, I appreciate everyone's
Okay.
efforts on this. Yeah, if you could,
No, it sounded like the chief really sprang into action and, you know, I know he put a lot of resources towards it, but I think the bottom line is we don't want to forget or lose it.
and if just make a lot of requests, but not just a weekday rush hour. Saturdays is pretty bad. So
And that was going to be one of my questions. You know, since feeling this out and hearing the numbers from the chief, and also what you identified, that it's really not necessarily the generalized speed going through, it's really those I don't want to say abnormal, but the ones here rather than ones here.
Which, and those are more kind of your cruisers. Yeah, there are people obviously in the morning that are rushing in.
So from your concern and from your, I'm not sure if you work out of your house or anything else, but your personal observations are when you're home and you see it, and that's going to be, is that on the weekends? Is that?
I would notice it more on the weekends because I'm just out and about in the yard. And even weekdays I work home, I'm more inside too. And then rush hour, you know, I leave at 7 to catch the train, so I'm pretty much gone before the real rush starts coming through. My wife's like, you know,
Is she indicating that this is a constant during the day, or is it more prevalent at certain hours than others?
Yeah, weekdays it's rush hour, but then Saturdays it's
Just the folks cruising down the country road.
Cruising down country road.
Right.
All right.
All right, well, listen,
Thank-
again, thank you much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown, for coming out.
Thank you. And Chief, thank you for all your work on this.
Appreciate everything you guys do. Thanks much.
And just so once again, that so we don't lose this issue, do you have Mr. Brown's contact information? So when we do hear back from the engineer, and there may be another discussion at the TC, that you can be advised and show up
I
here.
believe
and
so.
Let's do it again.
We'll reach out to Paul on Thursday while he's here for his normal hours.
You have an email address?
And actually, I'm meeting Paul Thursday, actually, for septic issues, so.
Well, there you go.
There you go. You may have a direct audience.
My email's on there if you want to shoot me.
Okay, I'll shoot All right, thanks much.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, too.
Any other member of the public wish to come up and be heard? Let's take about a 5-minute break. We'll let Ms. Stevenson talk, and we'll reconvene in just a few minutes.
Okay, we're good.
All right, we're back to live action here. It is 7:42, I believe, and we're seeing no further comment. We are done with public comment phase for the first time, twice this meeting, but we can go to our monthly subcommittee reports. We'll start with Mr. Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. As I had indicated last time, it's sort of a slow time of year for my committee, so we can get that, no meetings since last time. That's all updates.
Okay, Mr. Hickey.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick update on Camp Bedminster, since it's completed now. Camp Bedminster had a 3% increase in registrations this year, from 162 kids last year to 168 this year. And their afternoon mini camp went up from 899 registrations in 2017 to 951 this year. So it's an increase of 52 registrations. So great tip of the cap to Robin Ray, who works her hardest to run those programs, and again, another very successful year.
Very good.
That is it.
Ms. Jacobs.
Well, similar to what Mr. Stevenson's indicated, my two main committees, Land Use Board and EC, both were not meeting in August, but I am and can report on the farmers market, and based upon requests that came actually from the vendors to extend the market from the end of September and carry through October, and then polling the farmers market committee, the ag committee, and folks on EC, we made the decision to extend the farmers market all the way through October. And in discussions with Judy and with Robin, to actually coincide the last day of the farmers market with Fall Fest. So that is in the works. There will be continued coordination between farmers market and Fall Fest committee to talk about logistics and locations and all that great stuff.
We have a Fall Fest meeting tomorrow night. We have some great ideas of how we might make that work so that someone coming to the farmers market isn't necessarily paying admission. They can still come to the farmers market without paying admission, but hopefully they're going to want to stay and go in, and visit the rest of Fall Fest. So.
Right, and there was for those who were at not so much this week's farmers market, but the prior to, we had gone, I think, 10 weeks without any rain, and then we hit some rain, 2 rain events in a row, but we still had folks coming out, and we had folks from the Burnsville News coming out, and in that second rain event, during the rain, Amy Barata was there, and Deb Weissman was there taking pictures, and they gave us the full spread happenings in the hills in last week's Burnsville News, and it was remarkable that even with the rain, they could see the enthusiasm from the vendors and the folks showing up to go shopping at the farmers market. Rain didn't hold them back, and it was a great piece. So with that enthusiasm to continue it through October, we're there. So we'll be continuing, and hope to see you all there.
Jake, thank you, and thank Charlie for the ink. It was good to get some coverage. It was nice. The spread was nice, and good job to the folks at the farmers market. Another great week, 2 weeks.
And as Judy said, we have our Fall Fest meeting tomorrow, but October 27th is Fall Fest. Just
All right, please mark your calendars.
Mark your calendar. But same as my colleagues, we haven't had any of our meetings either, so I have no updates on those committees. But next time, be a big one.
Well, yes, I was out of town and even out of the country the first week of this month, and on vacation up until yesterday. I do want to thank the rest of the members of this committee I got to see a lot of emails going back and forth and pressing on, and Mr. Jacobs for filling in my stead at this seat, for our early meeting. I did notice upon coming back some things that hadn't been mentioned, that the Route 206 exit ramp free lane going to the Hills Drive.
Wait. That's later on in the meeting.
Well, sorry, I'm gonna highlight that members of this committee were a squeaky wheel to get that done. And it was nice to be welcomed back into town. So Larry Jacobs, I saw your name all over the emails that not only tried but accomplished getting that done, and I just want to highlight that as a great accomplishment while I was gone. Also, I noticed there's an engine brake. I'm going to steal all your thunder tonight. You've already talked about, you've already got to talk about the farmers market, so you're done. But I also noticed on 206 southbound an engine braking sign, no engine braking sign, which is something that had also been talked about in these chambers, and was also something that Mr. Jacobs had a lot to do with. So I don't know, maybe I should be out of town a little more often. Anyway, a very nice job done by all and the staff. I know that there's a lot of work been going on because there's been a lot of rain coming down, so I know the dirt roads have had a lot of your attention, and I know the police have been very busy over the past couple of weeks with all sorts of stuff, including a lot of presence on Lamington Road. We'll just leave that go. So anyway, thank you for what is normally a slow summer, but getting a lot of stuff done. I'll do this now rather than at the end of the meeting. I do want to make a comment about something. Sorry, Jake, I do occasionally get other papers, and I get another paper on my doorstep. It's a statewide paper, and it said, "Who pays to party at Trump's golf course?" And it talked about the Township of Bedminster and over $8,000 that Bedminster theoretically pays to have our parties at Trump. Well, this isn't the greatest of reporting. I noticed the reporter with the byline never contacted me. He's got a very old quote in here from some other article, and the article makes it sound like the taxpayers of Bedminster paid $8,272 to have our Betty Merck dinners at the Trump golf course. Now, everybody in this room knows that that's false. The figure is probably true that the golf course collected that amount of money, but we also know that those are open meetings. They're legally open meetings. Nobody is denied access to that meeting free of charge. People can come and go just like this meeting. The $8,272 pays for the people out of the pocket of the people that paid to have the dinner, because dinners don't come free. And that is done at the nonprofit rate that the Trump organization charges us, same as they charge the firehouse, same as they charge the PTO, and a myriad of other nonprofit organizations that take advantage of the nice facilities at the Trump golf course for various nonprofit events. So that figure in that paper is extremely misleading because it sounds like the taxpayers paid for it, and they did not. So, for the record, it'd be nice if Mr. Salant had called me, because I would have been happy to tell him the truth. And on that note, we'll go to the administrator's report.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Sullivan.
Couple quick items. Hillside Avenue paving, resurfacing paving project. Mr. Mance, Chief Rock, representative from Paul Farrell's office have had some meetings. We had a notice to bidders go out for the Hillside Avenue project on Thursday, August 30th. We will do the bid opening on August 30th. I'm sorry, it went out a couple weeks ago. We hope to do the bid opening on August 30th to that project. With that, once we have an idea of what the project will be, we will hope to introduce capital ordinance for the project on September 4th at our next meeting, and then adopt that ordinance and award a contract on September 17th. That will hopefully put us on a schedule for sometime mid-October to November. Right. I know the chief has met with the engineer to discuss a detour plan. The contractor, whoever that might be, will be responsible for traffic control flaggers. However, the police will monitor that closely and make sure that it is done properly. And there will be notices sent out to the Hillside Avenue and Steeplechase Court residents prior to the project to let them know about the traffic control changes. for the project. So that is coming soon. We also received notice, and that is funded through a grant. We got another grant. We just got word from DOT that we received $205,000 for River Road West resurfacing project that will be made part of the 2019 capital budget. So that'll be next year's project. So that's what we have going on for roads. My other comment is just, I think Trina Lindsay, the deputy clerk, reached out to you regarding the League of Municipalities Convention in November down in Atlantic City. It's November 13th to the 15th, and we need to put in a reservation for some rooms and accommodations if we want to get our first choice. So I'm just trying to get feedback. She sent out an email to let us know if you plan on attending so we can reserve some rooms. We might just reserve some rooms. We can make adjustments up until October 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to reserve rooms, and then if we need to cancel something, we certainly can. But if I don't put it in soon, I think we'll lose out. So if some of you don't know yet, that's okay. I was just going to put in for the rooms for everybody, and we can cancel if we don't need.
Okay. Yeah, I would assume you'd want to accommodate all 5 Township Committee and/or elects.
So,
okay.
So we'll put in the reservation unless you have a concern, and we can make adjustments closer to October 1st if we're going to change.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Oh, and I have one other thing that you gave me, which I probably should have gotten to in the subcommittee reports. And this was something I signed earlier in the week, although it is dated for tonight. And this is one of the neat things that that the mayor gets to do, and it's to sign proclamations. And I'm going to read this into the record, and it's not very long, but it's in its entirety. It's important. I have a proclamation dated today, August 20th, 2018. It says, whereas the Township of Bedminster is celebrating the 90th birthday of Robert L. Matthews. And whereas Robert L. Matthews was a member of the Bedminster Township Committee for 3.5 years, January 1st, 1979 to July 9th, 1982, when he took over for the retiring former mayor and Township Committeeman Albert E. Winkler. And whereas Robert L. Matthews served on multiple boards and committees during that time, including Public Works in 1979, as chairman, as well as Legal Committee, Insurance Committee, Charities, Finance Committee, and the Police Committee. And whereas Robert L. Matthews served as a member of the Planning Board from 1989 to 1981, where he was also elected as chairman for the year 1989. And whereas Robert L. Matthews has been a vocal advocate for Bedminster Township and an honorable public servant. He has always led with honesty and reliability. So therefore be it resolved that the Township of Bedminster, or the Township Committee of the Township of Bedminster, joins the municipal staff members and Public Works Department, members of the Police Department, and the Bedminster Township residents in thanking Robert L. Matthews for his commitment and dedication, while we wish him a very happy and healthy 90th birthday. For those that don't know, not only has Bob Matthews been important to Bedminster, but his late wife, Pritch Matthews, you may have read a lot of, she was kind of the unofficial historian for many years and has written a lot of histories of this area. And although she's passed away a number of years ago, her contribution to Bedminster was significant as well. So, Bob Matthews, happy birthday. And with that, we can, discussion of introduced ordinances, we have none. Introduction of ordinances, we have none. Public hearing on ordinance, we have none. Consent agenda, none. We do have one resolution, 2018-075, that's extending the contract for professional services. Law firm of Pirazino, Cifelli, Paris, and Genetempo LLC. Any comments or questions on 2018-075? If not, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Roll call vote, Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Thank you.
Bill list, can I get a motion to approve the bill list pending the approval of individual invoices?
So moved.
Second.
And again, Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Thank you.
Discussion items. Are there any discussion items that are not on new business, not on old business, Not that I haven't already talked about. Anybody want to bring up anything?
One thing, Mayor, I have a recollection that's in my mind here. When we were advised of a permit application or a change of permit for use in Burnsville, but it was said to us as if it was also something to think about because of the ability to get to 287 and 78, but when we stopped on 202, Bedminster. And I just happened to notice that there's a lot of chit chat, a lot of back and forth on some social media sites that the Burnsville residents are not at all happy about this change in use or whatever.
Is this trucks going to the recycling plant?
Yes, and I just, are we being, I know that,
The last I
are
heard,
we being asked to comment on that by the NJDEP in any way?
I was told by a neighboring mayor that that had been taken care of and the reroute was not to be encouraged through here. That's what I was told.
But the reroute, you know, it doesn't matter if it's encouraged or not, it's still a concern. And I don't know whether you have any standing to say.
Well, I don't think you can bar vehicles. I think the idea was that the company that was to run the trucks, and I don't know, I'm speaking of which I don't know a whole lot, so I'm afraid to say in the record but what I believed was, and I don't know if it was a government contractor that had the contract to move that recycling to the plant at the old quarry in Bernardsville, and there was a couple of routes they could take, and a neighboring community called us and asked, were we interested in, fighting the route that went through Bedminster, and was told a couple weeks later that they had seen it our way, or his way, so I didn't think the matter was still open. I could be wrong about that, but that was my belief. So if you're seeing it on Bernardsville social media, the other route was Mount Airy Road. Maybe that's the way they're going. And that's why maybe there's a little discontent there.
Yeah, again, I just didn't know if we were on the clock or anything for responding to the NJDEP sounding in. Chiming in.
Oh, good point, though. Anybody else? Okay. Any new business? It's kind of the same thing, but... All right, old business. Short-term rentals, anything new on that since we last convened? Engine braking, other than the new sign? Do we know where the new sign came from, how it got there?
It's our sign.
Okay, well, that's a good answer.
It's our sign.
We
Okay.
stole it from the farmer's market.
Yeah, it was borrowed from a farmer's market duty. And I will say, talking to some neighbors, they've noticed a reduction of those truck noises.
Okay.
I'm not sure, Chief, if you or John, if you have any similar observations as you drive around that area, but certainly some neighbors who back up onto 206 have noticed reduced engine braking noise.
Again,
I don't know if it's coincidence or if it's a direct result of the sign being there, but certainly there was appreciation expressed from the folks.
so we can't permanently leave it there,
Understood. I think they understand that.
so we have to probably set some time of the
I
time.
mean, the farmer's market duty still, that sign still may have a duty there.
Still has use there?
Could be Black River Road.
I would suggest that maybe you guys set a time limit and
Yeah.
we can take it down and, we can put it up periodically just so it's another one of those
Yeah.
itchy in the face things.
Yeah.
Right, and it may also be interesting to see, once the sign is moved and relocated elsewhere, whether or not the noise comes back, or those observations come
Mhm.
back. Because once again, I think we're just doing anecdotally whether or not maybe just having the sign itself there is giving comfort to the residents that the issue is being addressed by the town, which is what they're asking for. One note of the reference in the note here where it said that Raritan Borough had adopted restrictions for engine braking. What Raritan Borough had done is they actually adopted the state noise model ordinance, but in so doing, they really had little opportunity to deal with engine braking because their enforcement came through Somerset County, and their arrangement with Somerset County was that they would enforce noise restrictions for everything other than vehicles. So just a little, with that, working with the county can get you so far, but not all the way.
Interchange improvements. Larry, you want to tell how we got to having this road, the exit, the free lane paved
So,
while I was gone?
you know, I think all the committee members and also Nick Strakov, one of our residents and land use board members, had been sending emails to DOT, pushing. Judy was copied on a lot of those. I think, you know, Judy was sort of the repository of all the individual CCs from each individual email that we all sent out. And with not a whole lot of response coming out of DOT through July, and I know that Colin had also reached out to Assemblyman Eric Peterson, and that through the Assemblyman's office, he also had direct outreach to folks at DOT, so there was some movement there. And then we did get an email.
And a message today, too.
Right, we got the message today. And Mayor, at the last meeting, we actually read the email that I received from Meredith indicating that the ramp would be done, it would be opened for August 9th. Happened to be down here at a meeting on August 9th and didn't see a whole lot of activity out there. So sent an email to Meredith, it's August 9th, it hasn't been done, what's going on? I'm coming back from work that evening, and it was relatively late, it was already turned dark, and I see there's about 20 to 30 trucks lined up on the side of Route 287 right by the old ramp. Come down around it, it looks like the left side of 202 south was coned off. I'm like, oh my goodness, after all this, they're paving the other side. They're not doing the new acceleration lane. Write another email, oh my God, you know, you're doing the wrong lane. Well, there was another meeting at town the next day, and I swung by, and guess what? They did it that night. And so while they may not have necessarily met the August 9th deadline, they met the August 10th. Well, morning of August 10th, it was up and out there. I sent an email to DOT, apologizing for some of the tone in my last couple emails about not meeting the August 9th deadline. And it's a, you know, you can now come off 287 seamlessly onto 202 South. There's no stop sign. There's no awkward yield or other safety issue, and it seems to be working very smoothly. And you know, I send kudos to and congratulations to Meredith and folks at DOT for getting it done. And certainly, as we had indicated at the last meeting, August 9, 2018 is a heck of a lot better than sometime in 2019. Well, which is when they were scheduled.
I think we have to remember, was it a couple years ago that the bridge just on 202, just leaving Far Hills was out, and there was a lot of concern and hand-wringing over whether the buses could get there for Bernard's High, the 5th or 8th of September or whatever the first date was. And I remember Board President Lou Casella wringing his hands, and we were all wringing our hands that night, would it get done? DOT sometimes works the way I used to work in junior high school. If there's a deadline, and the deadline is midnight, by gum, the deadline is midnight. And it won't be done a minute before, but it'll be done by midnight. And I remember that night, I remember it was 8:30, driving down myself to see if the 202 was going to be open for school the next morning, and sure enough, at 8:45, it wasn't open. Way to find out, Lou Casella calls me a half hour later, they just did it, it's open. So anyway, the 9th is the 9th, not until midnight, or, you know, maybe another time zone or something, but no, it's good. Thank again to all of you for being the squeaky wheel on that and being advocates for the residents, and glad that that improvement has been made better now than later. So, excellent. Which brings us to our second and final installment of public comments. There's the podium. There's the microphone. The rules apply, the same as before.
Hi, I'm Renee Moreski, Chair of Environmental Commission. Just want to give you guys an update. We're going to have a meeting next month, and we've invited the Neshannock Apiary, Neshannock Station apiaries to come and talk to us. Again, another item in my pollinator program. We've talked about bats, we've talked about butterflies, and now we're going to talk about the bees and what's going on with them. They're going to bring it's called an observation hive, and it's a piece of their hive. At night, apparently the queen has to go back and have her rest, and we're not going to see her, but we'll see the worker bees. And that's Anna Berneski, who actually is a participant in our farmers market. So the farmers market's working out really well for all sorts of things. And for our October meeting, I'm planning on talking with the people at Raritan Headwaters who have the Fairview Farm. I went out and went to an open house for them, met Larry out there, and they have an amazing place. There's lots to learn about watersheds and more of our flora and fauna ecosystems. And I'm going to try and reach out and see if we can do kind of an on-site meeting. So I'll let everybody know whether we have the meeting here, but hopefully it'll be out at the farm so we can take a walk around. And that's about it.
I think the country fair is in October too. October, I don't have
Fair is
the date.
October 7th.
Yeah.
From 11:30 to 4:30. And that's also the group that does well testing. So if anybody that wants to get their well tested, there they can go.
Try and get that word out. Great job. Thank you again, Renee. Thanks for all your work on the farmers market as well.
Renee, that meeting is the 19th of September, just so folks know.
It is the 19th.
All right.
19th of September.
You run a good
Okay.
meeting, and there's always a lot of activities going on, so let's make sure people show up.
September 19th, 7 o'clock, right here.
If you have anything we can put on the website, shoot it over.
I'm working on it. She's
Okay.
working on it. She's
September 19th, 7 o'clock in these chambers, in case you didn't get caught on the microphone there. Okay. And that brings us to the final installment, Township Committee comments. Mr. Stevenson.
No comments, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to recognize one of our younger residents in town, Bryce Petrie.
Ah, a neighbor.
Petries, yes.
Yeah, just down the street from
Couple
us.
neighbors here. He completed his firefighter 1 certification.
Good.
Which is kind of amazing if you think about what he had to go through. That required 220 hours of training over 5 weeks. He's 16 years old. A lot of 16-year-olds are down in their basement playing Xbox all summer. He decided to sacrifice his time to do that, and it's, following in his dad's footsteps. It's an amazing accomplishment. Just wanted to kind of recognize him officially for completing that.
Well, the Petrie family's had a lot of good accomplishments. I know their daughter was recognized as a scholarship recipient at the 200 Club earlier this year. And she's probably off to college by now.
Yeah.
Off to college.
Yep.
That's scary.
Larry wishes he was off to college.
Is it most of your house off to college?
I'll be taking 3/4 of our children to college this week.
I heard
And
one say she was so excited to be the only child at the farmer's market. So you're going to be spoiling her probably.
yes. Yes. With that, no other comments.
Stacy?
I have no further comment, Mayor.
All right. We do have an executive session. The executive session does not involve coming out with any resolution, I believe.
No.
So, all right. Can I get a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
So, I'm going to teach you that. Counselor.
I don't think birds are pollinated. Well, actually, they kind of are. So we get to work.
Yeah, birds bats, please.
Sure.
I was at the Berners Township Committee on Tuesday, and at one point, the administrator, Pat Monaco, took over earlier this year. He told the committee that on the recycling plant that Bernardsville, Four Hills, and Bedminster were all going to object to the DEP or DOT about the traffic. And I was just wondering, is Bedminster really doing that? I didn't quite get that sense tonight.
talked to Paul Malone a couple months ago about this.
I remember in January you mentioned that, yeah.
And I was under the impression by him that had all been done, so I'll have to go back to Paul and find out. But record to ask that question rather than just something, a letter magically appear.
Yeah. Don't pull your kids.
No, that would not be good.
Are we, tell me when we're back on. And a very good evening. It is 9:08 and we are out of executive session. I did have one other thing that I wanted to address with the group. It was from an earlier conversation that we had and talking about the potential for the routing of trucks through Bedminster Township for the recycling plant, I guess, in Bernardsville. Again, I earlier stated that I thought that that was a closed issue. I will reach out to our neighboring mayor, but Doug, if you want to follow up on that, if we do need some comment, to sense of the committee, are we looking to oppose? Again, it is a potential routing of vehicles through the town. I don't know how you can bar a vehicle from going through your town on a public road, but I guess looking for comments whether that would be considered undesirable, and that may be a consideration.
Happy to look at it.
All right?
Great.
All right?
Thanks.
Sense of the committee? All right, any other comments or questions? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night.
Good night.
Make sure that's...
Jude, what time tomorrow?
So,
Seven?
Doug, there actually is, for waste hauling,
7 tomorrow?
there's a, counties, what's called,
Yeah.